Hello, everybody. Hello, Questers on a Wednesday night podcast with special guest tonight, Scott Clarke. Hello, everybody. It's going to be a great podcast tonight. Get your wine, get your coffee ready. It's going to be a long one, guys. I got a little ranting to do after, and Scott said he'll stay with us as much as he can throughout the podcast, and I thank them so much for that. I want to thank all my members, as I always do, for all their support and membership and fees. Judy, Daniel, Osprey Muyan, thank you so much. You guys are the best. My mods, they're fantastic. And for a lifetime contributor, Chris Adona. I want to thank my Quest of Oak Island Facebook group, all 70,000. That makes this thing tick. We're on Quest Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter, and other platforms, including Twitch, Rumble, Discord, and Instagram, and also Spotify for podcasters. Welcome, everybody. Welcome. Yeah, the clock fell off the wall, so studio problems. It just fell off the wall, guys. All righty. Well, you've seen this cast member on the Curse of Oak Island show. He's a friend of mine. He was on before. We had a great podcast. If you guys got questions, throw them up on the text. I have about 10 questions for him after this little presentation of his new book. And please have a warm welcome to Scott Clarke.
How's it going, John?
Hello, Scott. Welcome to the podcast. You are now a veteran. This is number 2 for you.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Happy to be on.
Yepper. Everybody's coming in. Like I said, you went once around the sun today. And personally, from me to you, I want to wish you a happy birthday today. And thanks for coming on, Scott.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. I've been out all day, so I know there's been lots of people messaging me. I'm looking forward to checking Facebook later on today.
Yep, and you got your over 100 Oak Island books behind you, all filed up nice in your bookcase.
Yeah.
On
my office area. Yeah.
Unbelievable. A lot of people were looking forward to what you have to say tonight. And also, like I said, if you want to stay for the podcast, just let us know. Sure. And Judy will be on the telephone, but I don't know if I can rewire that so she can hear you. But just let me know if you can't hear her, because it's kind of crazy with the phone and somebody on live at the same time. Sometimes they can hear her, sometimes they can't. I can hear her, but sometimes we have a problem with the guest. Just let me know, Scott.
Sure. Okay.
Everybody's saying hello. Everybody's saying happy birthday.
Yep. I just pulled up the comments. Thank you, everybody.
Oliver's in the house. Oak Island Research. They do fantastic work. And then, like Scott, we got to find that silver number 1. You know what I mean?
I know. That's my my key theory is the Phipps Concepcion silver. So I'm really hoping there's so much evidence pointing towards it, right?
Right. And did you actually give them an X or no?
I did on another theory, yeah. So in the book, I talk about another treasure map that I found.
Okay.
Created by a Freemason. It's the earliest map of Mahone Bay known.
Oh my lordy, 40.
I believe I found myself. I found 2 ciphers, and Chris Morford found a 3rd cipher on the same map, which I talk about in the book. So I actually presented part of that to the guys on the island, and I present a specific spot on the island called the Tau Path.
Mm-hmm.
So it's based on a triple Tau, which is a Masonic symbol, and which I believe is on this map, and it was created by a Freemason 33 years before the discovery of the money pit.
Unbelievable, guys. Unbelievable.
And a triple tau literally in to Freemasons, it means a key to the treasure. That's one of the meanings of a triple tau, and it's pointing right at Oak Island.
Oh my lordy 40, you're driving me crazy. I love it. Now that's another presentation you gave to the fellowship that hasn't aired yet, probably.
Correct.
You got the silver presentation, and this other stuff that you have in your new book was presented in another episode or whatever they're doing with it, right?
Yeah, and then I also did the breastplate theory as well, and that was a Zoom war room, which is pretty cool. And then I was on that Freemason Factor episode,
right,
talking about my research there. So I think I've been on 3 main episodes, but they've repeated me like about 9 times. So people probably getting sick of saying the same thing over and over, but I've been on about 12 times with the repeats.
Yeah, repeats, I've been here for 10 years. If they're not used to the repeats and patience now, that is drilled into our heads. That's part of the programming part of it, not the treasure part and not the history part, the programming of the show to put it all together to make some kind of storyline out of all this
people if they don't already remember.
Yep. All right, so let's get right into it with your book, Scott. I'll bring up the screen share, and you can start, where you can get the book, when it's going to be available, and we'll get that right off the bat. Okay, Scott?
Yeah, sure.
All right, here we go.
So I just threw together a few quick slides. So that's a copy of the full cover of the book that they sent me, the publisher. I don't know how well people can see it, but so I did have some say in the cover. I specifically asked my publisher if they could incorporate that 1762 map of Mahone Bay, which they did.
Mm-hmm.
Oak Island is actually right above the A in Oak. And then the actual symbols, like in Oak, the O is a circle with a dot, and the A is like a triangle, which are all symbols I talk about, Masonic symbols in my book. And then it was their idea, actually, which was I really liked, was to incorporate that Masonic symbol at the bottom with the all-seeing eye right over the compass rose on the map.
Mm-hmm.
So it goes right, if you follow the red line, it goes right around to Oak Island. So that was pretty cool. And then I also wanted them to put on the triple tau symbol, which is on the spine of the book, which is up in the top, within a triangle and a circle. And so that's the cover. So basically, the book, I conceived of the book about 15 years ago. When I was working with Mark Finnan. Basically, the plan back then was that he would write most of it out based on my research. And that sort of didn't come to pass, which is actually a good thing, because much later I found so much more information over the years that I was able to put into this book. And when I was on the island a year and a half ago doing my presentations, one of the producers said, you really should write a book. You've got so much material here. And so that of course prompted me to start putting it all together. And I shopped it to a couple of publishers who weren't looking for submissions, but they both loved the idea right away, and they were both trying to get me to sign with them. So I ended up going with the one in Halifax, which I just felt was a much better fit for me. They were very enthusiastic, and of course Oak Island, that's a big thing out there. So it's been a couple of years. I know some people self-publish and some people advise me to self-publish, but I'm glad I went with a big publisher, because they do all kinds of behind the scenes stuff, and there's the whole publicity that's going on now, which is really great. So
is this how many pages is it? Is it going to be like available like ebook or anything like that also, Scott?
Yeah, it'll I was working on a description for the blind, I guess it is. There was describing the photos, so that'll be coming out, and eventually there'll be a I guess an ebook. It's about, I think, is it 270 pages? There's about 40 images, and so that's the book took about 2 years to come out, and a lot of time on editing. I told people that I used to think I was pretty good with English, but once the editor got to it, it was like, holy cow, there's so many small small things you kind of have to follow, and they want to make it as concise as possible. And
Mm-hmm.
I had actually put in a lot of people's names. I had put in your name, for example. Like I talked about different Oak Island groups
Mm-hmm.
and some personal names, and they said, "Oh no, it's best to not have that." And certain people will love it, but 99.9% of people won't know who they are or whatever. So
Right.
so that kind of thing, was a little bit discouraging to have them take that out. But I think it turned out well. They did a good job with the editing, and there was always back and forth with me, making the corrections. And so yeah, it's been a great experience. So the book came out, I guess it was about 3 weeks ago. So the it's out in Canada right now, but not officially in the US. So it's on Amazon.com, but I highly recommend anyone from the US to get it from my publisher, nimbus.ca. It's actually cheaper that way, and it takes a week or less to go to ship to the US. So you can get it there, or Amazon.ca, or any bookstore in Canada at the moment. And within the next couple of months, it'll be rolled out across the US to most bookstores in the US. So I'm not sure why there was a bit of a delay there with that, but I think it's a different distributor.
Right.
So yeah, so since the book came out, it's not moving. I'm just trying to change my slide.
Okay.
It's not changing for me. Anyway, so since the book came out, I've had a few events. I had my first event was an Ontario Library Association super conference, which was very close to my office. So I got to go in and show the book and talk about it to. Oh, there we go.
That's me. I had it in the staging area.
Okay, perfect. So that's me at the conference. I know some people have seen that photo before. So that was prior to the book coming out. So they actually had some postcards that they asked me to sign for people, and it was great to have people coming up and talking to me. So that was the first event. That was just prior to the book coming out. And can you go to the next one, John? Or
that's all I really have of you in my staging area as far as photos. And I just got the book like that. That's about it. Not unless you want to reboot the share page.
You can try that real quick. Let me see. So stop.
Yeah, hit stop. Okay, you went off.
Okay, and then present.
There's always glitches, Scott. No matter what we do, we don't worry.
I think this happened last time too. I'm not used to presenting on the.
Yeah, we don't worry about it at all.
Now, can you see?
Nothing yet.
Okay. If this doesn't work, then we'll just keep going. But no, okay. Anyway, so I'll just talk quickly. So the next one was I was invited to be the keynote speaker at a Masonic black tie banquet.
Oh, nice.
Which was at a heritage Freemason lodge, which does a lot of work with Masonic history. And that was really cool. That was actually I didn't know the Grand Master of all of Ontario would be there. So that was pretty cool. So there was the whole number of Grand Lodge members that were all quite interested in Oak Island and talk about the book. I also was invited to a Scottish Rite dinner. So I really believe that Oak Island is connected to the Scottish Rite more than anything else. Yeah, so basically the Scottish Rite contains what's called, there's Royal Arch within Scottish Rite, and also the York Rite. So they're the appendant bodies of the three main degrees. And most of the research that I've done involves, as I said, a Royal Arch or Scottish Rite. And so this talk at the Scottish Rite dinner was very interesting, and they had in attendance the two highest members of the Scottish Rite for Canada. So they were the 33rd degree active council, which is pretty much, there's no higher level you can go in a Scottish Rite.
Okay.
So they were there, and also the very first person that came up to me and asked me to sign, I actually received copies of my book, and I brought them with me to sell. And one of the first people that asked me was the former Grand Master of Ontario, the year that I became a Freemason, back in 2008, 2009. So that was really cool. I didn't really know who he was at the time. He didn't know me, but then when I heard his name, and I was like, oh wow, it's, that was a real coincidence. So so that was really interesting. Also, last week, I think some people probably saw that I was on CTV News morning show in Atlanta, Canada. So that was broadcast in Nova Scotia, Newfoundland, Prince Edward Island, New Brunswick. And once that was aired, my book really shot up the rankings on Amazon.
Very good.
Which was very cool. So I think it was like, number 300 or something in Freemasonry, and it went all the way to number 1.
Very good, Scott. Very
so it was
good.
a best-selling book for a half a day. I think right now it's actually number 4 again. It dropped down to like whatever, and so those rankings change every day based on sales. And
yep. Wait till the USA. Wait till it hits the USA, then bada bingo. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, and there's already been some rankings in the USA based on this. Like I said, there was a third-party seller, I guess, purchased some copies from Canada, jacked up the price a few dollars, then he's selling them.
Oh, my Lord.
So he's making more than I'm making per book.
You got to get a hold of that guy.
I've heard that's a common thing. I heard from Gretchen Cornwall, and someone was saying with James McQuiston had the same problems, and it's just a problem with being an author. But that's okay. It's I'm just very happy to have people buying the book, and then a lot of people telling me that they love it. So
I hear you. And then also you got the Fellowship Treasure swag on that you got from the Fellowship.
Yeah, I have the shirt on that Rick. So that was something else that was pretty cool. The I've never received anything in the mail from Rick Lagina before, and I was waiting for copies of my book to come from my publisher. And one day last week, the doorbell rings, and it's the postman, and he's got 2 packages, and one of them is my book, and the other one is this package from Rick Lagina literally from Oak Island. Like the address is from Oak Island.
Yeah.
And it had a jacket and a shirt. I guess it was for people who were members of the 2022 season last year.
Yep.
Or so into this season 10. So I was a little worried when I saw it. I said, does that mean the show is over? And I didn't get a firm answer, but I'm 95% sure it's not over.
Sure. And you got the Quest hat, and you got the Quest hat on.
I've got your Quest hat on there. Yep. Thank you very much. So yeah, it's been a great ride recently. It's been like I said, a lot of work for a couple of years, but it's now really starting to pay off. So,
well, now that you know like the process, would a second book be even a little bit easier, or
yes, it would. Yeah. And I'm already working on research, things that I found. Like I was supposed to be on the island last summer to do another war room, and I ended up getting sick, and I had to postpone it. And then the season sort of ended, and so that was unfortunate. I would have been probably on again this season, but Rick told me that I would almost certainly be back again if there's another season. So
right.
So I do have more material to present. Some of it's in the book. If people buy the book, they'll see it there first. But there's some other stuff as well that isn't in the book yet, or that isn't in the book.
Okay. Now, any of your research, I've been trying to get a hold of the chief of Mi'kmaq. Any of your research go to the Mi'kmaqs as far as any history they have, except for what the TV tells us about the relationship with the island and the reservation up there?
Not that I've been involved with. I know there's talk about how the Mi'kmaq flag is identical to the Templar battle flag or something, and that's sort of gone around on certain sites. But I know a certain expert who debunked that, who said no, that's absolutely not true. So that's something I do know from years ago. From
Right. I guess they had that flag was brought to everybody's attention in the 1900s, not way back when the Templars supposedly were there, but into the 1900s.
yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, I haven't had other much dealings myself with Mi'kmaq.
There's his book. All right. Got a couple of questions for you, Scott.
Sure.
What are some of the unknown connections between Freemasonry and Oak Island pre 1795? Thank you, Scott.
Yeah. So one of the biggest, I guess, was my finding that over 1/3 of the island was owned by Freemasons prior to 1795. So there was speculation that there might have been like one or something, but I found that at least 6 Freemasons and likely more owned at least 9 of the lots and likely more as well. So so definitely there was Freemasons there very early, and one of the very first Freemasons on the island came from the very first Grand Lodge in all of North America in Boston.
Mm-hmm.
And his lodge brother was Jonathan Belcher Sr., the son of Captain Andrew Belcher, who I've talked about on the show. So there's a really cool, Belcher connections to both the Captain Andrew's son and grandson, both directly to Oak Island, being among the very earliest lot owners. Another connection is the man who conducted the very first Mark Mason degree in all of North America was in Halifax. And within 3 weeks of doing that, he was at Chester Lodge conducting the very first meeting of Chester Lodge with these Oak Island lot owners in attendance.
There you go.
And one of the things I talk about in my book, which people probably don't know yet if they haven't read it, is that I discovered that 3 of the very earliest marks chosen by Mark Masons are identical to symbols from the 90-foot stone.
There you go, guys. You got to buy the book and find out.
So yeah, there's a lot more to it. Obviously, I'm just giving you the
Okay, Scott. And do
high
you
level.
think it's possible that Freemasons were targeted for involvement with Oak Island based on the fact they usually had a lot of money to invest? And do you think that would motivate someone to make it look like Oak Island had Masonic associations? Thank you, Scott.
So the question is saying that they think it's not made to look in terms of not legitimate.
I guess, yeah.
I mean, it's possible. I don't believe that I mean, there's been people that have suggested that it's a Masonic, a fraud or a joke or something over the years. But just the family connections that I found, like I discovered, within my own family that I talk about in the book, there are 5 generations that have been involved in the treasure hunt over almost 150 years.
Mm-hmm.
And surely, those families, if they had known there was any kind of scam going on, they would have told their grandson or whoever it was, no, don't bother. It's and they didn't. They all
just
kept going with it. And so yeah, to me that doesn't, I don't believe that.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. In believing a Masonic breastplate was once used on Oak Island that you presented, do you believe that the Ark of the Covenant is located there? There's a big one for you.
So I don't believe the actual Ark of the Covenant is there. I know the show talks about that.
All the time.
But so the Masonic ritual actually talks about a replica of the Ark.
Okay.
So there very well could be a replica of the Ark, which it would be sensational if they immediately find it. They would have to test it and blah blah blah. But I don't believe the actual Ark is there.
Okay. What is the difference between Freemasons and Rosicrucians, and do you believe both work together on Oak Island?
So Rosicrucians came out around, I believe it was very early 1600s, and the first Freemasons were 1634. Sir William Alexander They both came out around the same time, and the earliest members, Elias Ashmole and others, were very interested in both. So they were Freemasons, but they were also very interested in the esoteric aspect of Rosicrucian. So Rosicrucian actually did get melded into Freemasonry. Like in the Scottish Rite, there are 3 degrees that are very specifically Rosicrucian, and I have those degrees myself, and I also belong to a separate Rosicrucian Masonic group. You have to be a Freemason first to join that group. So I absolutely do believe they're connected. They go hand in hand, and both could very well be linked back to Francis Bacon. I believe John Dee was definitely involved as well in Rosicrucianism. Sorry, what was the second part of the question? Was there?
Do you believe both work together on Oak Island?
So yes. I mean, basically, it's Freemasons that I talk about, but I believe there's definitely Rosicrucian elements.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Here's another question here, Scott. Thank you for answering these questions.
Yep.
Can you tell us about your family history relating to Oak Island?
Yeah. So as I said, I talk about in the book how I was adopted as a baby, and I was very interested in Freemasonry and Oak Island before finding my birth parents, and I discovered that my birth mother, through her, I'm related to all these earliest treasure hunters. So I'm related to pretty much all of the known Onslow Company members from 1802, 1803, and through my dad, birth father, he was from Edinburgh, Scotland, and was a 32nd degree Mason, and his father's a Freemason, and I have Masons going back in Nova Scotia as well. So
okay, very good.
So that's been part of my what I call my personal odyssey in my book is that whole finding my birth family and finding out about my my genetic history and
right.
all these really interesting connections that I've found.
All right. You don't have a. This is only from Johnny here. You don't have a tattooed map on your back, do you?
I do not.
You know what I'm saying?
No.
You didn't find no map on your body anywhere. Okay.
No.
Oh, I had to put that one in there. I don't know. All right. Who were some of the Freemasons listed at that Chester Lodge that were involved in Oak Island? You said 7 of them. You said, I think.
6 actually. I
6.
have. Yeah. So everybody knows Alexander Patillo has been mentioned on the show. So his Masonic apron is hanging in Clarke Lodge, which is in Chester, which is was shown on the Freemason Factor episode. So he was one of the early ones. He was from Scotland. Captain James Anderson, of course, everyone knows. So James Anderson became a Mason in Maryland, and he had his first degree. And when he came to Nova Scotia, he joined Chester Lodge and got his second degree there. There's also a man named James Sharp, Alexander McNeil, John Kinghorn, and then Jonathan Prescott, who a lot of people know as well. To me, Jonathan Prescott is one of the key people.
Okay.
As I said, he was an early member of the first Grand Lodge in North America and a brother of Jonathan Belcher. And he was a longtime early lot owner on Oak Island.
Alrighty. Do you believe there's a link between the Knights Templar and Freemasonry? And do you believe Templars were on Oak Island?
So I know mainstream historians will say there is no definite link. I talk in my book how I have a friend in Scotland who believes he's found proof that I mean, basically there's a whole bunch of Templar properties in this one area near Kilwinning Abbey, and that was built around I think 1100, and then Kilwinning also became the Mother Lodge of Scotland. It's the oldest apparent lodge. The records go back to I think the 1630s.
Okay.
So there's a couple of lodges in Edinburgh that predate by the records, but So yeah, I do believe that there is a connection. I think
Alrighty.
it's maybe not 100% established in people's eyes, but I believe it's there. And that, in terms of Oak Island, it's not my main research. I do believe it's possible that the Templars were there.
Mm-hmm.
I talk about a theory involving Sir Humphrey Gilbert in the 1500s. He was known to have been in Newfoundland and around Nova Scotia, and that was in 1593, I believe. And then Gilbert is actually related to Captain Andrew Belcher, so that all sort of flows together. The Templars, to me, is a bit of a separate thing that could
Okay.
be possible, but I don't know for sure.
Okay. Scott, why do you think William Phillips would bury silver on Oak Island and not closer to his home in Massachusetts?
Um, I mean, probably because back then it was uninhabited. Like, it was the letter that I found from 1687 talks about how the Captain Andrew Belcher had Phipps's ship right after he came back from the treasure recovery, the second recovery,
Okay. Yeah.
with 1/20th of the silver.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of it was missing. And then this letter says they went to a place called Port Labert in Nova Scotia, which I show is actually one of the closest named places back in 1688 to what would become Oak Island. So I think it was just the fact that
Okay.
I also think that it's possible that that Captain Andrew Belcher might have known about Oak Island through his Masonic and or Gilbert connections. That he might have known there was already a secret vault on Oak Island.
Very, very good. And the last question, did William Phillips have any connection, do you think, to Captain William Kidd? We got to put the pirate in there, Scott.
Yeah, and I talk about him in my book as well. It's amazing that Captain Andrew Belcher actually was had very direct ties to both of them. So he was a best friend and worked with William Phipps, but he was also a member of the Governor's Council under Dudley. One of the 4 people to interview Captain Kidd when he was captured. He actually went to the Gardiner's Island. He helped recover the treasure that was found there.
Mm-hmm.
They waited on Belcher's wharf, and Belcher was one of the last people to talk to Captain Kidd before he was executed. So there's a connection there between Belcher as the Lynch. I also read I don't know if it's true or not, but there was a newspaper article, I think, from the 1900s that talked about something like Captain Kidd's was it like butler or something was involved with Phipps's someone on his staff. And there was actually a newspaper article that talked about the two of them, like there was a connection there. So I never really looked into that, but it's somewhat interesting, right?
Very, very interesting. Like I said, here's Scott's book. Like you said, you want to say again where you can purchase it through the
Yep. So as I
publisher and
said,
everything?
Canada, definitely I would suggest Amazon.ca.
Mhm.
And it's in bookstores across Canada, mostly on the Atlantic coast right now, but it is in Ontario and in different places. And US, I would suggest you can get it on Amazon.com. It's probably just a few dollars more, or I would suggest getting it through my publisher, Nimbus.ca, and it'll be a little bit cheaper. And like I said, it'll be less than a week for shipping.
Okay, and you said you couldn't use group names and names. What was that again, Scott?
Yeah, when I originally wrote the book, I included personal, like I talked a bit more about my family and
Okay,
things,
yeah.
and I mentioned people I involved with Oak Island, and because I actually mentioned your website, Quest of Oak Island, in the book.
And they couldn't. They wouldn't do it.
No, it's in the book. They kept the website, but I
Oh,
mentioned John Stemmer and I also thank Daniel in the book as well.
yeah.
But yeah, there was some things they took out that they just thought was too much personal stuff that wouldn't be of interest to the wider audience.
I hear you. I hear you.
So, yeah.
Well, that's where you can get Scott's book on. Scott's going to stay with us for a while, and we're going to torture him through our podcast here. So, Judy, if you can hear me, call in if you can. Judy is fantastic moderator. She does the synopsis of the show for a lot of people who can't see, and It's like being there. She's so factual with her synopsis, Scott. It's like almost being watching the show.
Oh, I know. I've seen it online. Yeah.